Let's have a look at how to build a Flask application inside Docker. So over at our terminal, I've actually got a repository I've already set up containing all the various files that you will need. And I'll put a link in the description to this repository. So let's go ahead and clone this repository. And let's have a look at some of these files in here. So we've obviously got a README file that we can ignore. We've got a requirements file, which you're probably very used to if you're writing Python applications. You've got your Dockerfile, which is the file that we're going to be looking at. The app.py file, which is obviously the start of the Python application. And then in templates, I've got an index file. So this application is really app.py, which is a very, very simple Flask application. All I'm doing is rendering a template when I go to the base URL, and I'm making sure that I'm running it and binding it to all available interfaces. And again, it's going to that index file. So in here, we've got a very, very simple index file, and this is all that's in that index file, nothing more. And that's our app. So it's very, very simple. Obviously, in the real world, your Flask application or any other application will be a lot bigger than this. And then we've got the Docker file. And again, I've tried to keep this really, really simple. So the Docker file has really got 5 commands. It's got the start. So we've always got to start from somewhere. So Docker works on this concept of layers. So you are layering your Docker file on top of another Docker file. In this example, I'm using Python 3. This is a Python 3 application in this example, and I'm using it based on Alpine Linux. Now you can obviously choose any Docker file that you want. Okay, some people might choose to use a different version of Python. You don't have to use it based on the Alpine distribution. You can go to Docker Hub and find the one that's right for you. And then the work directory, where we're actually going to be putting all of our code into, where we're going to copy. So we're going to copy dot, which is copy everything, into the application directory, which is our work directory. Now, some people have a source directory here, and then put all of their source code inside that, and then only copy that. For simplicity, this is going to copy everything. This is going to copy the Docker file. This is going to copy readme.md. It doesn't matter in this example, but some people obviously would have a source file with app.py templates and everything like that inside there. And then instead of copy dot, they would do copy source. And then, as you know, Python developers are very aware, you've got your requirements file. So your requirements file in this example, it's a very simple app. It's just Flask. So you've got to run pip install -r requirements to install your Python requirements. If you need to run some other things when building an application, you need to specify them here. I've made this very, very simple. This is, you know, the simplest Docker file that you could do, and I'll go into advanced Docker files in the future. And then lastly, we've got the command that is going to run when this Docker container starts up. So it's going to be running Python. It's Python 3. Python is the only binary that's going to be on there, and it's going to be running app.py. And that is it. So this is the file really that is important. And what I'm going to do now is build the Docker container and then run the Docker container. So we're going to type docker build dot, which is our local directory. And then I'm going to tag it just so that we can see everything, and I'm going to call it Flask demo. Okay, so that's going to go ahead. Oh, I'm not in the directory. So here we go. So what it's doing first of all is grabbing the Python 3.h Docker container. In this example, I've already got it. However, it's found a newer version, so it's downloaded that. And then it's run our extra steps. So if there's any problems in your Docker file, they will come up here. And you will notice as we go down here, actually, it will moan about running pip as root. You know, again, this is very, very simple. You might want to run all of this as a specific user inside your container. It's completely up to you. But this happens, and then eventually it will show you the Docker container ID and the tag. So what we want to do now, okay, so we want to actually run this. Okay, now you might be using Docker Compose or something else. I'm just doing this on the command line. So we're going to do a Docker run. We're going to do a -d, which is to demonize it, so it puts it into the background. We've got to expose some ports. This is a web server. By default, listens on port 5000. We want to expose port 80. Okay, so we do this. And this is saying, for the ports, let's put a space there just to use port 80, but bind port 80 to 5000. Okay, so anything that's coming in on port 80 is going to be redirected to port 5000. And then what container do we want to use? Well, we've just tagged Flask demo. So we can go ahead and run this. Now, this is, as I said before, running in the background. We can actually see that this is running here. Okay, Flask demo, it's running this command. It's been up for 5 seconds. Any ports to port 80 go to 5000. And to see whether it's working here, we can go to 10.20.054, which is the IP address. And you'll see here it says hello world. Now what I want to show you very quickly, I'm just going to move this off screen. You can see in the templates that this is hello world. If I was to change this to hello world 2 and refresh, nothing is going to happen. Now this is because we built that container. That container is running and everything about it is encapsulated within that container. If we want to see those changes, we've got to rebuild the container. Now, how do we do that? We just run the build command again. And it's going to go through, copy the file in, and then we can stop and start the container, and we will see our changes. Now, one thing to note is that at the moment, we're keeping everything to latest. And it's actually, what we can do is start tagging, version 1, version 2, version 3. But let me just go ahead and do docker stop the container ID. And that should take a minute and stop that. And then I'm going to go ahead and rerun that and we should see our changes. And here it is, hello world 2. Now, I talked a little bit about tagging. So when you build your container, you've got a T here. Now you can put here version 1. Okay, so we've tagged it, Flask demo version 1. We might want to call this beta. In fact, let's make a change. Let's do hello world 2, but this is the beta version. Okay, now then we're going to build beta. And it's going to go ahead and build all of that. Now what we can see in Docker images is we've got these 3 different Docker containers with different tags. We've got latest, which we built. We've got version 1 and we've got beta. Okay, so when you're doing your Docker run, you can see here I'm running just Flask demo. It'll always run latest. If I just do that, it's already running. So if I did a docker stop and stopped this container, and I wanted to run the beta one. Okay, you stop this container. And then I can run the beta. And then we can go back here and this should say hello world 2 beta. Now obviously the beauty with containers is you can also run them, run multiple versions. So we can run on port 81, let's run version 1. And so we can do 1.0. And let's do on 82, we can run latest. So now we can see this is still the normal one. Now our previous container is now running here, hello world 2. And then our very first container is running port 82, but it's exactly the same. And that is it. I hope that's been helpful. I'll put some links in the description. If you like these videos, please comment, like, subscribe, let me know what you think. And thanks again for taking the time.